to practice. The Chargers and Steelers are 2-0 heading into Sunday's game. Congratulations to Bethune-Cookman kick returner Darnell Diaz. Diaz was named the Division I AA National Player of the Week after rolling up 225 yards in kick returns in Saturday's game at Western Michigan. The HBCU standout had 2 kick returns for touchdowns, one for 95 yards, and the National Player of the Week after rolling up 225 yards in kick returns in Saturday's game at Western Michigan. The HBCU standout had 2 kick returns for touchdowns, one for 95 yards and the other for 98. Diaz is the first Bethune-Cookman player to be named National Player of the Week since 2018. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
Tavis is under attack. I can't get his radio station on my transistor. I'm getting the Asian station that he's right around, but they're not letting KBLA 1580 come in. I'm not getting the black man. So let Tavis know he's under attack. Cyber attack, racist attack, fascist attack, but he's under attack. And they doing something to disrupt his radio station so they won't get the truth out to us.
Hey, it's Tavis. We appreciate all that love, let me tell you, because we may very well be under attack on all sides. Just because you don't believe in conspiracy theories don't mean they ain't after you. But in reality, sometimes stuff happens with the signal from the studio to the tower, which sends our programming to your car, home, office, or your transistor radio. But when you download the KBLA 1580 app, the sound is clear as a bell all day, all night, anywhere in the world, from Los Angeles to Lagos. So we love all of our listeners, no matter how you hear us. But when you download the KBLA 1580 app and hear that richness, you'll wonder why you didn't do it sooner. But don't take my word for it. Download the KBLA 1580 app right now. I'm Tavis Smiley, and I approve this message.
Here comes the money.
Here we go. Money talk.
Here's what happens when you advertise on KBLA Talk 1580.
3, possibly 4 weeks ago, I heard an advertisement on your radio station from a company called Grid Solar. I would love to have that phone number so I can reach out to them with reference to solar panels being installed on my property.
Our listeners are aware and engaged, but more than that, they are loyal. When they hear empowering messages that uplift their community and help them live better lives, they respond. No medium reaches this coveted black audience like KBLA Talk 1580. So, hit us up today at smb@kbla1580.com and let us help you connect with our loyal listeners. At KBLA Talk 1580, we've got your black. Money to put.
First things first.
Things first, it's the DU General, Money B. I'ma put you up on the schedule, 6 to 9, 8 weekdays, not 2 and 7. Let's go. We got a lot to talk about, so much to pedal through. Unapologetically progressive. Tune to KBLA 1580 to get the mess. We're your ancestors' favorite radio station. First black on talk radio, left side of the nation. Me and Dominique DiPrima go way back. Tag Smiley making sure the station stays black. Discussing all the issues in our community. We're hosted black and brown and others find unity. So let's talk about it. Maybe we can improve it. Digital underground, always down with the movement. So we tune in. The first things first with the queen of black talk radio, Dominique DiPrima. Go sis.
First things first.
KBLA Talk 1580, good morning and God bless. I'm Dominique DiPrima. This show is called First Things First. My first thing today and every day, giving thanks, giving praises, asking for blessings from God, asking for the blessings of the ancestors and the elders, and getting it going. It's a busy day around here. We got a lot to talk about. We're on format and on point. Hour 1, we typically look local, what's happening on the left coast. Hour 2, we go national, international, and beyond, opening up the phone lines. Well, they're always open. In hour 3, we do a deep dive with a person of interest and a hot topic. Today is both. We'll be talking with Senator Steve Bradford. He'll be joining me in the studio. And the hot topic, of course, is reparations. We'll also be doing our Wealth Building Wednesday thing where you meet a Black-owned or BIPOC-owned socially innovative small business, something on the radar to support the folks that are making it happen and creating jobs in our community. We do that every Wednesday. If you want to be considered, just hit me up on the socials. Go DM me. Probably the quickest is on Instagram. We're on every platform at KBLA 1580, KBLA 1580, and I'm at DiPrima Radio, which is DIPRIMA, and then radio. I know y'all like to call me Dupree and all other kinds of things, and that's fine. Just keep calling me. But if you're trying to find me, you want to get that DiPrima, and I'm always there on socials. So it is my honor to welcome back to the show another voice, another activist in the reparations space. She's a grassroots activist with an organization called Lineage, Equity, and Advancement, Project LEAP, and the Coalition for Just and Equitable California. She was in last week and gave us some insights on the organizing that's going on right now. Those are both lineage-based reparations organizations seeking to advance and empower Black Americans through political advocacy. She's also a board member of the New Frontier Democratic Club, which is the oldest Black Democratic club in the state of California. Tiffany Quarles, good morning.
Good morning. Thank you so much, Dominique, for having me back.
Yeah, thanks for coming back. Man, the news and the moves that are happening in California around the future of reparations just doesn't stop, right?
No, it's not. It's still in the press, and people are still talking about it.
Yeah, and that part is good. And I guess, I was surprised, and I'll talk about this more in the third hour of the show when Senator Steve Bradford joins us. But I was surprised to see that letter on yesterday from the California Legislative Black Caucus stating what they propose to do with this $12 million that was earmarked for reparations by the state of California in the middle of a tough budget year in which I was, there's been a lot of rumors, let me put it that way, about what's happening with that. Some of them not rumors based on things that people have been told by legislative staff members. And those seem to come to, for the most part, to fruition with the letter by the CLBC. Your thoughts?
Yeah, so when I was on a show last week, I told you
you did.
What was so that $6 million was slated to go to the agency and $6 million to the California Black Freedom Fund. So the letter now, like you said, for those who don't know, Wendy Fry from I believe she's from KQED, if not, forgive me, but she's a statewide reporter. She put out the letter that showed the CLBC requesting this money from Governor Newsom. And at first we were told it was a rumor, people weren't sure, but the letter pretty much shows that indeed, some of the money was slated to go to this California Black Freedom Fund. Now, the executive director, who is Mark Philpart, who's actually a native of South Los Angeles, has been going around saying, well, I didn't request it, and these were just things that were being deliberated. We did not request the money ourselves. So I don't know if I believe that, but that is what he's officially putting out there, that it wasn't something that his group asked the CLBC for, but that it was the CLBC's doing to request that $6 million.
Right, which, I mean, I don't know, I guess that's his position, and to me it doesn't really matter, because to me the key point is that, they apparently are asking for $6 million to go to this nonprofit, which is pretty much what you and Chris Lodgson and others have said on this show all along, in which, when I spoke to Senator Lola Smallwood-Cuevas, she said it hadn't been designated yet. So maybe it hasn't, but certainly the request is now public, right?
And I have a problem with that, Dominique, because, reparations is not about funding nonprofits. I think that so many people in the nonprofit world are using reparations as an excuse to raise money and to try to attach any sort of area of interest to this topic. That reparations needs to be about empowering Black Americans. Now, we talk about power to the people. That's what this is about. So any sort of funding should be about directly empowering the descendants of U.S. chattel slavery, not about lining special interest groups' pockets. And so the fact that $6 million was earmarked for the California Black Freedom Fund is, once again, another example of how the CLBC dropped the ball. All $12 million should have gone towards establishing the agency and setting up the fund, setting up the infrastructure so we can start actually putting policies in place that are about changing Black Americans' lives. Like nonprofits, I'm not going to speak, negatively.
Okay, well, let me push back on that a little bit, Tiffany. I mean, just because a nonprofit can be anything, right? I mean, a nonprofit is just a significance of their status as an organization. So, I mean, I've gathered from my conversations with reparationists of all walks of life that this is part of the struggle, is that some folks feel that nonprofits should be receiving money from reparations rather than either direct payments to individuals or money going to something like a Freedmen's Agency. And a lot of those tend to be some of the older line organizations that have these that have ties with these particular nonprofits. And then people on the lineage side tend to think it should go to an agency, to direct payments, or whatever else they think. But wouldn't it depend on what nonprofit? I mean, I'm not saying all reparations funding should necessarily go to nonprofits, but does it make sense to categorically say money can never go to a nonprofit?
Well, that was a point of contention during the actual hearings back in 2023 when the task force was still set up. That was when they were discussing the agency. There was that side that felt like nonprofits should be somehow connected to the agency, and I didn't agree with that. I felt, once again, I feel like nonprofits have their place and they are important to the community. But we want transformative policy. We want things to change for the better for Black Americans, not stay the same. And I feel like a lot of the nonprofit groups, they may have started out with the right intention, but as time goes on, a lot of them are so more concerned about raising money. We need an agency that is transparent, that is going to get the direct services to the people without it being about lining somebody's pockets. But with that being said, I do think funding should, not necessarily reparations funding, but some sort of funding should go towards nonprofits in terms of community education, outreach.
I mean, that could ultimately happen through that agency, right? I mean, that could happen through a Freedmen's Agency. I don't want to spend a lot of time, arguing this, but I just think that it depends. What is the mission of the nonprofit? What is their record? Right. What is it directly implementing things that are, unequivocally reparations? I know there are a lot of nonprofits that do a lot of good work, and
Absolutely.
And I know a lot of government agencies that don't do jack. So I think I just wonder about being categorical. That said, it's interesting that this nonprofit, the California Black Freedom Fund, I went on their website after I looked at this letter, and I don't see anything other than a study on reparations. Every single bill that they're supporting, which is interesting because, of course, there are bills that are put forth by these legislators that want to put the money from reparations into it. They're not reparations bills. There are all kinds of things. Some of them are great, but none of them, as far as I could see, had anything to do with reparations.
And that was my point about, people hopping on the bandwagon. I'm just going to be honest. I don't feel like California Black Freedom Fund was, intimately involved with AB 3121, which was the bill that set up the task force. CJEC, we were involved from the very beginning, and it was always just about just reparations for Black Americans for us. But as time went on, other groups saw the opportunity. They jumped on, and they're trying to make it about what they wanted to be about instead of what the actual bill stipulated. So I feel like, Mark, I'm not here to criticize him, but I just don't feel like he really knows much about what went on with reparations and why and what reparations are.
Yeah.
I think he saw it as an opportunity for him and his group.
Well, I mean, that does happen with nonprofits all the time. They flock to issues that are sort of being funded in any given cycle. Not all of them do it, but some of them do it. And I get that, but I'm not even really, look, if you jumped on the bandwagon yesterday and you're effectively creating and, executing things that we irrefutably know are reparations, I really wouldn't have so much of a problem with that per se. But when I'm looking at what they support, and it's all of these bills that are not reparations, that is problematic for me, because now you're taking money that was designated specifically for reparations and putting it elsewhere.
Yeah, let me just say one more thing about this, Dominique. I honestly think, once again, this is not for every nonprofit. I do think there is sort of this subconscious fear that if reparations is done properly, then Black Americans, we would not need a lot of these nonprofits, okay, because we've been repaired and we have everything we need. So I think there is some fear among groups that have traditionally, been, who've been in the area of dealing with racial oppression, that if this problem is solved, then there's no reason for them to exist. So some of them may be hostile towards it subconsciously. For that reason.
I'm sorry, but, and that could be, a true activist job is meant to be working yourself out of a job, right? I mean, that's if you're,
right.
But there's so much work to do. I don't see how that can be. If every Black American got cash reparations tomorrow, there's still so much work to do. As Cheryl Grill said on our Freedman Friday show, just the psychological and trauma work that has to be done to get us past enslavement and the subsequent harms of Jim Crow is a huge and heavy lift. So, I think they're being short-sighted if they're looking at it that way, even
I really
subconsciously.
I agree with you, but I do think that, that fear is there for some, and I think that drives a lot of what you see. But that's just my opinion.
Interesting. Talking with Tiffany Quarles, you're welcome to call in and join. Looking at reparations, I'm really interested in the organizing that's being done and, how people are mobilizing. And we'll take a look at that when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
She's reclaiming her time on KBLA Talk 1580. More First Things First with Dominique DiPrima when we come forward. Tabitha Smiley's new book, The Covenant with Black America, 20 years later, is now on sale everywhere. This classic text shot to #1 on the New York Times bestsellers list almost 2 decades ago. If you have the original book, you will surely want to get this 20th anniversary edition with powerful new contributions from today's leading voices. This 20th anniversary edition presents a compelling blend of historical insights and contemporary urgency in this critical and unprecedented election year. Get your copy of The Covenant with Black America, 20 years later, today.
Hey, what are you doing up on the step stool?
About to clean these light fixtures. The whole family's coming over, and if there's even a speck of dust in the house, my abuela will find it.
Here, I got a Swiffer duster to help with that.
A Swiffer what?
A Swiffer duster. It has this cool extendable handle that reaches 6 feet to get high and low, with fluffy dusters that easily trap and lock dust.
So, no more step stool?
No more step stool.
Easily trap and lock dust from hard-to-reach places with the Swiffer duster. Love it or your money back.
Eggs are a staple in our diets, and there's only one egg with more delicious farm-fresh taste plus superior nutrition. Eggland's Best. With more vitamins, including 6 times more vitamin D and 10 times more vitamin E, plus 25% less saturated fat than ordinary eggs. Available in so many delicious varieties. Classic, cage-free, and organic. Eggland's Best. Better taste, better nutrition, better eggs.
We've got a lot to talk about.
I'm Reverend Gerald, the life coach. Is someone you love struggling with addiction and mental illness? Is improving your family's health important? Want to leave a legacy that your family can grow? Are you ready to enhance your perception of life experiences? Then wake up weekends at 7 a.m. with Urban Family Focus and get the wisdom, opportunity, resources, and motivation to live your best life. Join the conversation on Urban Family Focus Saturday and Sunday at 7 a.m.
Unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got your black.
What make you? Yeah.
The California Crusader newspaper would like to thank all of our subscribers for their support throughout the years, proudly serving the South Los Angeles and South Bay areas for more than 40 years. The California Crusader is a multicultural, black-owned, adjudicated newspaper that focuses on providing newsworthy information to the people in our community. We're constantly looking for ways to assist businesses in our community to connect with our subscribers. We provide low-cost, effective ways to promote your business with our reasonable and affordable advertising rates. You can participate by suggesting, sharing, and submitting your stories on the California Crusader newspaper Community Share Facebook group page, or visit our website at cal-cruise-news.com. That's calcruisenews.com. Then click on the Submit Now button located on the top right corner of the homepage, or text CCN to 42828. Again, text CCN to 42828. The California Crusader newspaper, working together to build a better community for our future. Subscribe today.
Your ancestors' favorite radio station, and your favorite morning show host. Let's get back to Dominique DiPrima right now.
Talking with Tiffany Quarles, a reparationist with the organizations LEAP and CJEC. And let's go to Carl, calling us from LA. Good morning, Carl.
Hey, good morning, Dominique, and to your guests. Hey, look, I don't think that no nonprofits should get any of this money, because a lot of people will be saying, well, I got mine, you should have got yours. And we got numerous churches that never break bread with nobody. I see churches, they never be held accountable for any funds that come to them. I mean, they seem like they'd be exempt.
Are churches nonprofits? I don't know. Do they have a different?
They have numerous nonprofits.
Some of them do have affiliated nonprofit organizations. Yeah, I just don't know if churches themselves. Okay, I got what you're saying.
Yeah. So how can a person that's just the average Joe out here join a team that's where the money's going to come from once they approve reparations? I mean, there's so many organizations now that's been popped up. How do you find an honest one that you can run with and be with if the money happens to go direct deposit? I mean,
yeah. Okay. Yeah. I'm looking. You're right. And it says not just that they have nonprofits associated with them, that most religious organizations are classified as tax exempt 501c3 nonprofits. Interesting. That's an interesting point, Carl.
Thank you.
Tiffany, any thoughts on what Carl brought up?
I agree. He and I are on the same page. It's about accountability. And honestly, I do believe that sentiment is how most of the community would feel. Like I said, when you look at other reparations programs, whether it's for Japanese Americans or survivors of the Holocaust, usually the resources, the money, whatever, went directly to the victim. And that's exactly what we feel like should happen for us.
Right, or to an agency to distribute to the victims, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Exactly.
And so that's
So,
what
yeah,
you'd like to see. Even though at this point there is no legislation or no policy that allows for direct cash reparations, a lot of us have said, and even some of these legislators have said, that that's, in the works. It's not an instant process. And so that is why many of us felt that having a Freedmen's Bureau and having a funding mechanism, as the two killed bills would have established, was one of the steps needed to create a cash reparations. So that $12 million, which would not even be a drop in the bucket, really, of handing out cash reparations to Californians, you said you'd like to see it either in an escrow account or going directly into an agency to fund, things that are directly related to reparations.
Yes, and Dominique, what we've been told is that the $12 million is not, right now, is just sitting there. They have 3 years to utilize it, or it will go back into the general fund. But they have to decide through legislation on what they're going to do with it. So this is where the community comes in. We need to tell our legislators, whether they're a part of the CLBC or not, to ensure that that $12 million goes towards setting up the agency and the fund, because the CLBC is on record saying that they will reintroduce 1403 and 1331. And that's another thing we have to hold them accountable to ensure that they do, and that it is still lineage-based, because there are still groups out there trying to change eligibility, trying to make it race-based, and that is absolutely unacceptable. We've already spent years deliberating on that, and we're not revisiting it. So we need to make sure Black Californians at the CLBC puts forth the bills again and make sure that it's lineage-based.
Well, I feel like California came up with a pretty good compromise as far as lineage-based and things that touch everybody. I think the task force did a pretty good job on that. I know by people want to relitigate it. From what we understand, people in this case includes the governor of the state of California. If, in fact, those amendments that Bradford described were meant to create another study, which is a way of kicking the can down the road. I'm just arguing that a lot of nonprofits do great work. Places like the Community Coalition, obviously they're not a reparations organization, but they could conceivably be handling aspects of a thing that need to be done. And I don't think ruling them out of hand is the way either. But that said, I'm looking at these members of the networks.
Well, can I address something you
absolutely,
said really quick?
Absolutely, yeah. You know what? And I'll launch after because we have a minute here till news, traffic, and sports.
Okay, so really quick, just to clear up any confusion about what the task force decided in terms of eligibility, because I know there are groups going around saying that it was a compromise, that cash would be lineage and other programs be based, for everyone, and that is absolutely not true. The bill, AB 3121, was always about studying reparations for African Americans who descend from persons enslaved in the U.S. It's always meant to be specifically about that group. The task force upheld that intent with a 5-4 vote. The problem is that the people who were on the votes, the 4 people who voted against lineage, they are not accepting that, and they're going around spreading misinformation, saying that it was a compromise position, and that's absolutely false. So I want your
I'll explain why I think that when we come forward. We're right up against news, traffic, and sports, but I understand what you're saying. I mean, and this is, I think, likely being used as a model across the country. You're listening to KBLA Talk 1580.
More of First Things First with Dominique DiPrima when we come forward.
I'm Mike Moore. Here's the latest from the Black Information Network. Former President Trump says his second apparent assassination attempt shows that his presidency was consequential. Trump took part in a town hall event in Michigan Tuesday and claimed only consequential presidents get shot at and that it's a dangerous business running for president. Federal prosecutors are claiming Sean Diddy Combs has been abusing and exploiting women since at least 2008. The African-American hip-hop mogul appeared in a New York court Tuesday after being arrested on counts of racketeering, conspiracy, and other charges. The families of the 3 road workers killed in the collapse of the Baltimore Bridge are taking legal action against the owner of the ship that crashed into the bridge. Lawyers for the family said Tuesday they plan to file a claim seeking to hold the company fully responsible. And that's the latest. I'm Mike Moore from your 24/7 news source, the Black Information Network and BINnews.com.
Right now, there are young people across the world facing a tough choice: continue their dream of education or drop out to help their family put food on the table. You can help change their future in a single moment. See how far your support can go at unbound.org.
Is this the time? This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
The Dodgers pitching staff had another bad performance last night in Miami. The Marlins pounded the Dodgers 11-9. The Dodgers bullpen gave up 7 runs. The only good news for the Dodgers last night was San Diego's loss to Houston. The Dodgers still lead San Diego by 3.5 in the NL West. The LA Sparks lost to Phoenix 85-81 in their final home game of the WNBA season. The loss assured the Sparks of having the most losses in a single season in WNBA history. The Sparks are 7-32 with 1 game remaining. 31 losses was the previous mark. The Sparks, who finished 5-15 at home, wrap up this dismal season Thursday at Minnesota. UCLA gymnast Jordan Childs has filed a request with the Supreme Court in Switzerland to overturn a ruling at the Paris Olympics that forced her to give up her bronze medal in the floor exercise to Anna Barbosa of Romania. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
October 2nd is California Clean Air Day. Go Metro for free and help cut down on pollution and traffic. It's our way of thanking you because every ride makes a difference. Let's clear the air together. Ready to go right now? Head to metro.net.
They say the hardest part of getting something done is getting started. Well, we did that 30 years ago when California first took on the tobacco industry. Now, smoking is down 60%. Lung cancer 42%. A couple of our cities have already ended tobacco sales. A California without big tobacco isn't just possible, it's already happening. See our progress at undo.org.
To help combat climate change, LADWP is helping neighborhoods have better access to electric vehicles by awarding nearly $130 million in EV rebates to customers just like you. From big savings on used EVs to building new charging plazas, LADWP is charging ahead to help all Angelenos experience the benefits of EVs. Get rebates of up to $4,000 for a used EV and $1,750 for a charger. Learn more at ladwp.com/EV. That's ladwp.com/EV.
Hey there, Los Angeles. This is James Lucky Jr., publisher and editor of Los Angeles News Observer. Are you hungry for news that matters to you in the African-American communities of Los Angeles? Well, buckle up, because we got the scoop you've been craving. Stay in the know and never miss a beat with our free weekly publications conveniently available near you. Or hop on the digital wave and become an exclusive subscriber at OGNSC.com. Don't forget to join the party on Instagram and Twitter at OGNSCINC for behind-the-scenes access and sizzling updates. No more FOMO. Let's stay informed, connected, and empowered together.
My friends swim no matter the season, but my moderate to severe plaque psoriasis can sometimes take me out of the moment. Now, thanks to Skyrizi and clear skin, count me in. With Skyrizi Risankizumab Riza, a prescription-only 150 milligram injection for adults who are candidates for systemic or phototherapy. 3 out of 4 people achieve 90% clear skin at 4 months.
Don't use if allergic to Skyrizi. Serious allergic reactions and an increased risk of infections or a lower ability to fight them may occur. Before treatment, your doctor should check for infection and tuberculosis. Tell your doctor if you have an infection or symptoms such as fever, sweats, chills, muscle aches, or cough, or if you plan to or recently received a vaccine.
Thanks to Skyrizi, there's nothing on my skin, and that means everything. Ask your doctor today about Skyrizi, the #1 dermatologist-prescribed biologic in psoriasis, and visit skyrizi.com or call 1-866-SKYRIZI to learn more.
Thanks for waking up with Dominique DiPrima on KBLA Talk 1580.
Okie dokie. I'm trying to find some stuff I was looking at online yesterday and appears to be gone. In any case, I shall either hunt it down or I won't. Tiffany Quarles is with me. She's a grassroots activist with the Lineage, Equity, and Advancement Project, LEAP, and the Coalition for Just and Equitable California. And you were talking about how people are defining whether or not, the California Task Force was strictly lineage-based outcomes or whether it was a compromise. You said that you felt like members of the task force who voted against lineage or going around creating another narrative. The reason I believe that is because when we have legislation that or programs that come out of reparations that help those who suffered the subsequent harms of our enslavement, i.e. the bill that actually passed, the Bradford bill that actually passed around racially motivated land seizures, eminent domain, for example. If you were not the descendant of an enslaved African and you had your land taken because you were black or your family was here back in the day, you would still benefit from that.
No, that's not correct.
So you're telling me that if a black person had their land taken in 1890, who was black but not a descendant of enslaved Africans, the law would not apply to them?
Well, hypothetically, okay. Well, first of all, 1890, that probably wouldn't have been a likely scenario, but hypothetically speaking.
I mean, but isn't that what the task force says? It says, like, if you've been here since 18-something in the state of California, or
it says a descendant of an enslaved Black American or a free Black person. So in that your scenario, then yes, that person would qualify. But you're talking about SB 1050,
right?
And that was authored by Senator Bradford, and it was actually connected to 1403, meaning it was supposed to be for African Americans who descend from persons who were enslaved in the U.S., and it was supposed to go through the agency to process their claims. So it was, that bill is specifically meant for, those who descend from U.S. chattel slavery. But now that we don't have the agency, that does, leave the question what happens to that bill, SB 1050.
Well, I mean, that's the question that I was going to ask for Senator Bradford, but since you brought it up, even the $6 million that the CLBC is designating for a freedmen agency, how does that happen? I mean, I guess they just hold it as a budget line item and assume that this agency is going to appear, because as of right now, that was one of the things that was killed at the last minute in this legislative session.
Yeah, that was, probably the most important reparations legislation that came out this cycle, because it sets the infrastructure up to deal with those questions. And like I said earlier regarding the money, the money's still there, and it's just sitting there. They need a trailer bill to determine what's going to happen with it. And I think all of it should go towards the agency. I mean, they have the money for it. There's no excuse at this point. Easily, there could be a special session, which some have, puts forth as something that should happen, or I believe Governor Newsom can even sign an executive order to set up the agency. But at any rate, that agency needs to be set up in order for reparations in California to even happen or be a success.
Right, but even without a special session or the governor signing an executive order, which I would argue is highly unlikely, that money, if it has a 3-year expiration, and I don't know how that works, it could conceivably be held and as a set aside for the Freedmen's Agency, given that was a priority, a legislative priority for the CL.
I mean, they said they're going to reintroduce it.
Right.
I'm just saying that.
I'm laughing because I don't understand how you kill a bill that's a priority, but
exactly.
They said it was a priority.
Other things are going on.
Right. So effectively, that means, in theory, nothing would have to be done other than that money not being absorbed into the general fund.
Right. And you mentioned, I forgot what I wanted to address regarding, the amendments. Can I just touch on it really quick?
Sure.
About Governor Newsom's amendments. So keep in mind, CJEC, we actually met with Governor Newsom's office with his legislative team who was assigned 1403. And we met with them maybe like a week before the vote was up, and we were told that there was no problems with the bill. Everything's okay. The only issue was the money. But that just shows that this was something that happened last minute. And what I personally believe is that, those folks who were against lineage were in Governor Newsom's ear saying, we need more time to study this. And I believe they brought all sorts of fears and unfounded fears to him and gave him the idea to do the amendments as a last-ditch effort to prevent reparations in California from being lineage-based.
Okay, so, again, that's speculation, but it certainly could be because the thing
think
about it is it does appear to be last minute. We have lawmakers on tape supporting this. We have them voting for it. If money was the issue, it shouldn't have made it out of the Appropriations Committee. I don't claim to be an expert on governance, but even I know that. So it does, I think it's beyond speculation that this somehow fell apart at the last minute. So let's talk about, unless there's anything else you want to address, Tiffany, that came up.
I just wanted to make sure that the audience understood that
I think
everything was set up for us to win. And as you can see, something happened very last minute, and I guess I have my suspicions, but it's speculation at this point, but it will be revealed. Everything's coming out, and I believe the truth will, at some point, be fully revealed as to what happened.
It seems to be like a theme of this season on every level. But Friday Jones is in the chat saying California has direct harm built in, so non-descendant beneficiaries would still need agency infrastructure. And Courtney says, Dominique, you're on point. This morning we are already working on all that, having a little tech cliche, but I'm in the queue in the check. I'm not sure I understand that. Nita says it's not speculative. We were there. Governor Newsom's task force appointees all voted against lineage. It's obvious. I'm not saying that they didn't vote against it. What I'm saying is that we don't know that they were in his ear saying, shut this down by introducing amendments at the last minute. That said, let's talk about organizing. For me, the number one goal would be getting those two bills across the finish line, but I know there's a lot of other stuff going on. These meetings that the caucus has been having that they appear to be shutting people out of, based on what I'm hearing from talking to people, that they're not able to register. Talk to me about that, and talk to me about where we are as far as LEAP goes in next steps.
Yeah, so in terms of how the CLBC has been responding, I don't feel like it's been a great response overall. I feel like whenever I've watched them discuss it in venues, events, there is a sort of hostility there. And I feel like that's a problem. We are the people who voted you in to send you to Sacramento to represent our interests. And any questions that we have regarding this should be taken seriously by the CLBC, and they should be humbled. And they should be humble and willing to, answer the community's questions. I was at an event yesterday, or a meeting yesterday, and one of the CLBC members was there to talk about what happened. And, she has such a horrible attitude, yelling at people, combative, and she just dropped the call without even, finishing, because she was so emotional and so angry at people for just asking I would say very valid questions about what happened. And I just feel like the CLBC needs to stop being defensive, take ownership of what happened, and work with the community to make this, a better situation for us and to move forward. And, the only CLBC member who I will give some credit to is Assemblyman Isaac Bryan. He came to the town hall last week when this was fresh and people's anger was fresh. And he stood there, he listened, he answered questions, but he did, even if we didn't like what he said, at least he showed up and listened. And I feel like the rest of the CLBC needs to follow his lead and talk to the community and stop running from us.
Wow, call sounds like a hot mess. And what did you feel like anything productive came out of it?
Absolutely not. I do think, once again, this person, I don't want to say the name, but I will say that, she was in front of a crowd that is very much, an older crowd. I would say mostly those of the boomer generation who tend to, look at politics from a more traditional perspective. And I feel like she opened a lot of their eyes as to what's going on. So if anything productive came out of that, is just that people see what we're saying is true, that CJEC and LEAP, those of us who are on the ground, is just giving us more influence and more, people sympathize with us because they say, this is ridiculous. We see that you guys are out here fighting for the community, and yet the very people who we send to represent us are, working against the community's interests. So, you talk about organizing. I feel like one unintended consequence of what happened with the CLBC is that it has gotten more Black people in California engaged and more aware. It raised awareness as to what is going on because, during the hearings, people weren't paying attention as much, in my opinion.
Yeah,
right?
no, I think that's right, because people thought it was moving through the pipeline, or they thought it was a pipe dream. Either way, they weren't as engaged. And the other thing I've noticed is lots of organizations that may not have worked together in the past, but that have been working steadily on reparations, joining together in coalition, or at least in a temporary alliance to get something done, which to me is always a win.
And that's one of the, I guess you said, silver linings of this whole thing, that it's gotten more people engaged. We have so many people signing up to volunteer. And, we are working with organizations who we've never worked with and who we may not even agree with. But because of the egregious act, it just brought us all together. And so our next steps are to, mobilize the community, use this momentum to get as many people as engaged as possible. And, we want to put pressure on the CLBC to bring these bills back, but also, strengthen them and ensure that they actually do pass this time.
Interesting. All right. When we come forward, we'll talk more about what that looks like. And, the other piece of legislation that was killed, they have not. What people on this show have vowed to bring it back, but I haven't seen any public postings, or the only public release that I saw was a letter. Actually, specifically did not agree to bring that back. So I'm wondering what you think the next steps are specifically on that funding mechanism piece that we would like to see reintroduced the next opportunity. This is KBLA Talk 1580.
A safe place to go loud. A great place for progressive politics. KBLA Talk 1580.
Oh, man. Looks like Bobby needs a ride to the airport again.
Grab the keys.
Who's taking Auntie and her friends to the swap meet?
Grab the keys.
How about we drop these boxes off at Miss Johnson?
Grab the keys.
Whether you're giving rides or hauling gear, you're all about getting things done. So do it all in a Chevy SUV. From the versatile Equinox and sporty Blazer to the roomy Traverse, our lineup of SUVs will carry you through every adventure. All you have to do is...
grab the keys.
That's how we do. Head to your local Chevy dealer, where well-qualified buyers get 1.9% APR on all 2024 Silverado 1500, Blazer EV, Equinox, Trailblazer, and Colorado models. Chevrolet. Together, let's drive.
1.9% APR for 36 months. Monthly payment is $28.60 for every $1,000 you finance. Example down payment 12.7%. Must finance with GM Financial. Some customers may not qualify. Not available with lease and some other offers. Take new retail delivery by 9/30/24.
Hi, this is Councilman Curran Price, inviting you to be part of our city's legendary musical history at the 29th Annual Central Avenue Jazz Festival on September the 21st from 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. For decades, the Central Avenue Jazz Festival has honored this historic corridor's unparalleled contribution to jazz. Enjoy a day filled with jazz, blues, and Latin jazz across 3 stages, featuring performances by Chief Ajua, the John Beasley Big Band, and Las Chicas. Indulge in a variety of delicious foods from barbecue to Asian fusion, and explore from a unique mix of vendors and more. The festival is free to attend, and it takes place on Central Avenue between King Boulevard and Vernon Avenue. Parking is limited, so Metro and rideshare are recommended. For more information, visit centralavejazzfest.com. That's centralavejazzfest.com. See you on the 21st.
My mom has taken up going to the park to practice yoga.
My dad's going to a club, but not a book club, a salsa club.
Finding new hobbies comes with age.
My mom has started getting lost and not knowing where she's going.
Becoming lost or disoriented doesn't. Confusion with time or place may be a sign of Alzheimer's. An early diagnosis can help improve the quality of life for your loved one. Learn the warning signs of Alzheimer's at 10signs.org. Brought to you by the Alzheimer's Association and the Ad Council.
If you love to travel, Capital One has a rewards credit card that's perfect for you. With Venture X, earn unlimited double miles on everything you buy and turn everyday purchases into extraordinary trips. Plus, receive premium travel benefits like access to over 1,300 airport lounges where you just check in and chill out. Open up a world of possibilities with Capital One. What's in your wallet?
Terms apply. Lounge access is subject to change. See CapitalOne.com for details.
Find a righteous rage and don't be afraid to say what you see. We're KBLA Talk 1580.
All right, so talking with Tiffany Quarles. Appreciate you being on with me. I feel like the other good thing that's come out of this is folks getting more urgency about getting up to speed on understanding the work that's been done and what needs to be completed still. What do you wish people knew about reparations?
Well,
in general, not those of you who are on the ground every day, but the people that are just coming into this movement based on their anger and frustration around this ridiculous situation we find ourselves in.
Well, I want them to know that, first of all, it's possible. We keep hearing that reparations will never happen. Oh, they're not going to give us anything. That's a lie. All things are possible with God, first of all. And, it takes faith, which I feel like a lot of people are lacking these days. But, you need to have the vision, first of all, that it can be done and work towards that. And as you can see, we've gotten very close. This is the closest we've ever gotten, probably in American history. So it can be done. And so Black folk need to understand that and stop saying that it can't be. Get involved, get active with CJEC, with LEAP, and you will see a difference made because, we had the votes to get these bills off the floor. So that shows that the political will is there. It was just, our own legislators who didn't do right by us, and it's on us to hold them accountable. So I want people to know that, and I want people to also understand that reparations are necessary. I think, Black folks, descendants of U.S. chattel slavery, we sometimes think that the wealth gap can be solved in other ways, through starting our own businesses, through, all the programs that you hear some politicians propose. But what many economists are saying is that the only way the racial wealth gap can be closed is through a massive investment like reparations. So it's not just a luxury for us. This is a necessity for us and our future, our children, our grandchildren, to be able to live in this country and to thrive and prosper, because the wealth gap, that is something that you hear thrown around a lot, and you hear different sorts of solutions. But reparations is pretty much the only way that gap can be closed and to bring us to a place of prosperity as a people. So reparations are necessary. It's not just something that should be last on your list. It needs to be at the top. And this is our moment.
And I would interject that it is a debt. It's not like, oh, woe is me, we're slackers, so we have this wealth gap that we are begging you to close. No, the wealth gap is there because you robbed our wealth and stole our labor, and so and our land. So it's a debt.
I agree with you 100%, Dominique. I read many people's comments online saying, well, we don't owe you because slavery happened so long ago. We've all heard that, but I think what people are missing is that there's a lot that happened after slavery. We are talking about a 400-year unbroken line of oppression that started with slavery and continued through Jim Crow, continued with redlining. We all know, our community knows this, but sometimes I think we need to be reminded that we're talking about our whole experience in this country. So, the debt is
Yep. Oh, let's see. I guess we can squeeze in Racy calling from Diamond Bar. Racy, is that right?
Good morning. It's actually Raphael.
Raphael.
DiPrima.
Gotcha. Good morning.
Yeah. Good morning. And I really, really thank you for highlighting this space. Every time I listen, I learn something more. And I really appreciate Ms. Quarles this morning. She is a consistently educational force, and I'm so grateful. And one thing that I want to learn today is this is a new process. As I follow this as a volunteer, I'm learning things. And I was there in Sacramento, and I learned a lot. Unfortunately, I learned a lot of things, much to my chagrin, that these systems are happening behind closed doors that are not benefiting us. What can we do going forward to rebuild trust with our representation?
Huh. Well, I'm going to let Tiffany take that.
Well, I'm speaking for myself. What I need to hear from the CLBC is, because first of all, I hear is excuses, and none of them add up. None of them make sense. I just need for them to be honest and say, you know what, we messed up. We're sorry, and we are going to do better. And so far, like I said, no one has really been strong enough for that for me. They say, yes, we'll reintroduce it, but I feel like they need to make that a stronger point, because people need to know that you are going to do right by us, because what we saw in Sacramento was a complete betrayal. There's no other way to define it. There's no other way to sugarcoat it. That was an outright betrayal, and in order for them to earn our trust, they're going to have to work with the community and stop avoiding us, like I said earlier, and treat us, with respect, and, make a commitment, a strong commitment to bring these bills back and other lineage-based reparations proposals, and have an open line of communication throughout the process instead of just shutting us out. I felt like we were sort of kept at arm's length distance throughout this legislative cycle. Like, there needs to be more communication between those on the ground and those who are legislators. And we at CJEC, we did our part. We reached out. We have Chris Lofton in Sacramento and other members of our team who would go to the Capitol. We would reach out to meetings with them all the time, but there still was sort of like this distance that they were sort of keeping us at bay. And I feel like in order for this trust to be established, they need to work with those, like CJEC and others in the community who are advocating on this issue, and not treat us like we are outsiders. We are politically engaged, we are constituents, and we want to be involved with this process.
Yeah, I think that's right. I also think they got to pass the bills. That's how you build trust.
That's right.
Do the work. Get the thing done. Stop saying you're going to do it or talking about why you're not doing it. Get it done. And I also agree with Judicially Affirmed, who says who's going to champion the bills going forward. I want to hear that. We just have a minute here. Tiffany Quarles, what do you want to use it for?
Well, first of all, I want to thank you so much, Dominique, for your just tireless advocacy. You've given us a platform to be able to inform the community as to what's going on. So just thank you and kudos to you for that. But like I said earlier, I just want the community to understand that, like I said, the door is open for us now. We got to get this done. We don't know if we'll ever get another opportunity like this for reparations. And that's why God has given us this moment. It's on us to walk through that door. It's on us to make this happen. And so now's the time. I would say please visit CJEC-official.org, leapofficial.org, sign up for our mailing list, get involved, get informed. We need all hands on deck. Also, LEAP, we will be hosting a town hall next Saturday, the 28th at 3 p.m. at True Vine Baptist Church in Inglewood. We are coming to the community. We want everyone to know what's going on, give you a floor to discuss and share your feelings on it. So just get involved with CJEC and with LEAP if you're here in Los Angeles.
Yeah, thank you. And thank you for the great work you guys are doing. I believe we create our own opportunities, and you guys have certainly been a huge part of that. And I want to let you guys know, in case you're not paying attention, Senator Steve Bradford joining me in studio, hour 3. And next hour, the phone lines are open after Wealth Building Wednesday. Let's talk about it. If you got something to say it on our airwaves. We are unapologetically reparationist. KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.